Combination of functions, like I said, it sounds fancy, it really is not. Adding, subtracting, multiply, divide are the keys today. So, this is kind of what you're going to be doing today. This is a good example of subtracting two functions. Now, key subtraction, I always have some poor kid that starts distributing these, and I'm like, what's happening? What's happening? Make it easy, easy. Do your like terms. What's 2x squared minus 4x squared? I'll yell it, right? What is, let's go green for Christmas, negative 3x minus, careful here, negative 3x minus negative 5. Negative 3, because you're really doing negative 3 plus 5, which is 2. Good. And last but not least, what's 1 minus negative 3? 4. So this is like what we're doing today. This is a good example of subtracting two different functions. They might get fancy and then have you plug in a number for x, put a number in for x and get a numerical answer out. That's about as wild as it gets. I'd say the most work you have today is maybe foiling when we do product. Now, they are going to ask us domains again. We already kind of talked about it in the homework a little bit. What's the only number you can't put in there for x? Yep, so I'm going to say all real numbers. And equal negative 4. I'm coughing here. Any questions on that one? All right, let's get to the operations. So I really kind of wish the title of this section was Operations of Functions, because that's really what we're doing. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. And I'm going to show you that composition here in a minute. Obviously, if it says sum, we add. Difference, you subtract. Who would have thought, right? Product, of course, we know there's really a product symbol between them. That, like I said, might be the most work you have today if you have to FOIL some things out. Quotient, they're going to write with a fraction bar. Just for the record on that, we know fractions mean divide. And they're going to practice, of course, think about our domains of our fractions. We know our denominator can never be 0. We know that. 0 under the line is what? Undefined. Hey, let's just review. If your slope is undefined, what type of special line is that?
Vertical.
Vertical, good. Okay. Just throwing it out there. Hey, I can't help myself. Okay, so this is easy, I promise. It's just time consuming. Because we have to do plus, minus, product, quotient. We have to do them all. All right. So here we go. F plus G. So we are literally adding our two functions together. I'm going to add x squared to 1 minus x. Now, are there any like terms to put together? No. You could leave it. Personally, I can't sleep at night if I leave this order. I like it highest exponent to the lowest. So I'm going to put the minus x in the middle. You don't have to do that, but good habit, good algebra skills to get into. All right, f minus g, as always, watch our signs when you subtract. It's the way of our lives, right? So again, f minus. Now I'm going to be a little conscientious here when I write g because g is a binomial, the two terms. So I'm going to put it in parentheses. So I make sure I subtract that negative x. Now I'm going to subtract and put it all in the same order in one shebang here. So x in the middle, minus negative plus. And then what's the sign on 1?
Negative.
Negative. Got it. Again, I like it highest exponent to the lowest. I like it in the right order. Just good habits to get into. All right, this is probably the most time consuming that you'll have today because product, of course, you might end up having to distribute or FOIL. So we're going to do f times g. Well, we have to distribute, but that's not too bad on this one. X squared times 1, x squared times negative x. Now, again, you can leave it. I just can't sleep at night if I don't have it highest exponent to the lowest. So I'm going to flip it around. Just can't hide myself. Okay. And final one, quotient. F over g. So f, of course, is our x squared. G. What are we doing with that? What I'm really asking you is, as always with a fraction, can you simplify or reduce it? I see a lot of yeses. I see some. Well, if you're going to simplify a fraction, okay, let me start with something easy. If I said simplify 6/8, what would you simplify 6/8 to? 3/4, because you took what number out of both? 2. Now, you took 2 out of the 6 and the 8, both. Can you take something out of everything up there in that fraction? We could take x's out, but can you take anything out of 1? No, you have to be able to reduce everything in the fraction. There's nothing with the 1, so I can't. Don't flip it yet, because it also asks domain. Just to practice domain, of course. What's the one and only number you can't use? X can't equal 1, because that would zero out the denominator. So, quotient, just be careful on simplifying. Don't simplify if you cannot. You have to reduce out of everything in the fraction, and they're going to ask you for domain. I'm going to be flat out honest. The first 4 problems on your homework are like this. They are the most obnoxious of all the homework, because you have to do some different product quotient, all of them. It's just tedious to write out, okay? Now, 2 ways to do these. I like these better, because we only have one operation. Difference, product. We don't have to do them all, thank God, okay? 2 ways you can do it. I'm going to show you the book way. I'm going to show you then my way. I don't care how you do it, as long as you can do it. So F minus G, let's start with that. So just like on the previous 4 problems, I'm going to subtract them. So F minus, and then G, same spiel, it's a binomial. I'm going to put it in parentheses to make sure I don't miss a sign anywhere. Now, you know I like it in the right order, so I'm going to go ahead and do that again. So X would be in the middle, and it's going to be a negative. And then what's 1 minus negative 4? 5. So there's our F minus G. Now I have one extra step to do. They want you to put negative 2 in there. Okay. So I got to do a little mental math here. So now I'm going to replace our x's with negative 2. So we're going to figure out negative 2 squared. You probably already have that in your head. Minus negative 2 plus 5. So what's your final answer? 11. 4 plus 2, 6 plus 5. Okay, so that's kind of the book way, not judging it, maybe a little bit. I think that's kind of time consuming. I'm going to show you how I would do it, which I think is a little faster because I'm kind of good with mental math, okay? So you could do F a negative 2 first. So, I mean, I can do that in my head. What's negative 2 squared plus 1? 5, you're going to get 5. I'm going to write it down. Then I'm going to do G in negative 2, which again, I can do in my head. What's negative 2 minus 4? Negative 2 minus 4. Negative 6. I mean, I'm going to write it down. And then what do you get when you subtract these answers? Oh, 11. Okay. So does it matter how you do it, you get the same answer. Whether you subtract the given functions and then plug the number in, or you put the number in and then subtract. Same thing. Now, let's make a good choice here. Product. Do we want to FOIL these together and then put 4 in? Or do I want to put 4 in each and then do the product at the end? I think the second method is going to be faster. We don't want to have to FOIL if we really don't have to. Because I can do F of 4 in my head. You probably can do. What's 4 squared plus 1? 17. And let's be honest, on a homework assignment, I wouldn't write this out. I'd just put 17. What's G of 4 in your head? 0. And when we multiply our answers, we end up with a final answer of 0. I feel like I'd still be up here foiling if we did it the first route. Not that it's wrong, I just think that's a little more time consuming. I like to plug the numbers in first and then do the operation, but you pick your poison. Okay, last one of these. So this time we will not get a nice number answer out because you're putting in the functions negative t. Seems weird, but it's the same thing. So first on F, I'm going to replace both of, I'm going to put in X, I'm going to put negative t in there. So I'm going to have negative t squared plus 1. It's going to look kind of weird, but we can do it. Negative t squared plus 1. That's a negative there running into my t. Okay, G function. I'm going to replace the X with a negative t. So all I really got is negative t minus 4. Now, I can clean it up a little bit. 2 negatives make a what? So I'm just going to put that as t squared plus 1 on top. Bottom I'm going to leave. Now, question of the day, of course, can you reduce or simplify that green fraction down?
No.
Nope, we can't take something out of everything because of the 1 and the 4. That's it, that's all I can do there. Okay. So any questions on those? All right, that's adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Let's show you composition of functions. Now, you probably remember this, I hope, from last year. This little symbol here, looks like a little O in there, a little circle, means composition of function. F of G is how you say that. You might have G of F, etc. Now, these are a little counterintuitive. Still easy, but counterintuitive the order you work in. Normally we preach work left to right. Order of operations, left to right. Look at the graph, left to right, okay? This is backwards. You work, I'm gonna put a little note here, you work right to left. So I'm gonna jot that down. Because I don't want to get so specific about the F and G, because they might use different names for the functions at some point. They might have H and T or R and S, I don't know. Really, we have to remember right to left. So you're putting G into F. So we're putting the G function in to the F function for this situation. But again, I really want to remember it's right to left, backwards in the normal order we work in. So here we go. Find F of G. Great. G of F. G of F is 0. We got to do all three. Well, let's start with F of G. Now remember, right to left. So we're putting G into F. G into F. So I'm going to replace this x with x minus 1, and then I'm going to have to square it. Okay, all right. Well, some of you can foil that in your head, and you can just write the answer down. You don't need any more work. I'm going to write it out twice, and then let's foil it. So x and x, minus 1x, minus 1x. Let's combine it, and then plus 1. Okay. Now we're going to do the opposite direction, G of F. So remember, right into the left. So F into G. F into G. Well, hey, I like this. We don't have to do a whole lot of work. I'm going to replace x with x squared, and I still have minus 1. Now, I mean, you could factor that if you want, but yeah, why even waste the time with that? Last thing, f of g is 0. Okay, all right, okay. Now, most of you will just mental math this. You won't even write anything down. F of g is 0. So I have f of g, my red answer over here. I'm going to pop a 0 in for both of those x's and get a final answer. Yeah, I wouldn't even really bother writing that. I would just put 1, plus 1, plus 1. But that's what you're doing. You're going to go to that first answer and put x is 0 for all of those. All right, let's do a couple more. Same thing, f of g. You're going to do all three. So again, right into left. G into F. So G into F. So I'm going to replace the x with x to the 9th. And then I have to raise that, oh fun, to the 2/3. Okay. Exponent time, power to power. Do you add or multiply those? Multiply. So you're going to have 18 over 3. It's 18 over 3. Yeah, let's just put x to the 6 and be done with that. Okay, opposite direction now, G of F. F into G, right into the left. So F, this crazy fraction thing, into G. So I'm going to replace x with x to the 2/3, and then I have to raise it to the 9th. Well, real shocker. What do you got? And you will get some same answers today on the homework. Don't let that, like, you know, wig you out or anything. You do get a lot where you get the same thing. All right, last up. F of G is 0. Most of you are just doing this in your head and you didn't even write anything down. So I would do too. Technically, I'm putting it into the red, but I mean, they're both the same. What's 0 to the 6th? 0. Got it. Any questions on those first two? All right, one more. Love this stuff. It's too easy. Okay, same thing, F of G. I just couldn't fit it all in one slide. G of F, etc. F of G. G into f. So I'm going to put this very lovely fraction into f. So I'm going to replace x with 1 over x, and we have to square that. Well, we can simplify that. Just square the top, square the bottom. 1 squared, x squared. Got it. Now let's do the opposite. G of f. Right into left, f into g. And again, we end up with the same answer. It happens, because when we replace the x with x squared, here we are. Now, besides just the fact that it's super hot in here, I'm starting to sweat a little on this one. Because if I put 0 in here, what's 0 squared?
Undefined.
Well, yeah, we're going to have 0 under the line, which is undefined. Got it. So any questions on that? Okay, the last thing I have for you, are these very lovely graphs, okay? These are the same pictures. It's on the back side of your homework towards the bottom. It's the same exact pictures, I just cut and paste them out, but I've changed the numbers a little bit because I don't know why these graphs always kind of give kids some anxiety, so I just want to make sure we can handle it. I promise these are super easy. F minus g of 1. Well, I don't actually have equations for f and g, so I'm going to do it that style where first I figure out f of 1, then I'm going to figure out g of 1, and then my final answer, I'll just subtract them once I figure them out, okay? Now we're going to figure those out from the graph, of course. Remember, this is what you're putting in for x. So I am asking you, what this is asking you, on the f graph, when you put 1 in for x, what do you get for y? Yeah, 1, 2. We're looking at this point right there. Okay. Now do the same for g. So look at the right one. When you put 1 in for x, what do you get for y? 3. And now subtract those to get a final answer of -1. So simple, but just sometimes it's weird. I think the graphs are well, I want to redo it. All right, I'm going to do the same thing, but product. So I'm going to figure out f of 4, g of 4, and I'm going to times the answers together. Bless you. So let's do f of 4 first. Remember, that's what you're putting in for x. So first graph, put 4 in for x. What do you get for y? 4. 4, 4, right there. Look at the g graph now. When you put 4 in for g, what do you get for y? 0. And when you now times these two together, your final answer is 0. You'll probably have less work on your homework than what I have up here. All right, last couple. Composition. We can still do these on the graph. You just have to remember you're working right to left. So right to left. So first thing I need you to figure out, what is g of 1? So right, the right graph, g. When you put 1 in, what do you get for x? 3. So I'm going to first jot that down. Now your final answer. You are putting 3 into f. So go to the first graph. When I put 3 in here, what do you get for an answer? 2. Final answer 2. That point right there. All right, you try D. I'll talk you through it. So first figure out f of 3. So left graph, x is 3. Don't yell it out, just think what your answer is. And now put that into g. Okay, first question. What did you get for f of 3? 2. And then when you put 2 into g, your final answer is 2. So it's the exact same pictures up here that's on the homework. I clearly just switched the numbers, okay? But very simple. I just wanted to make sure you can handle the graphs. Any questions on those two? All right.